Kembali menyaksikan Profit bersama saya Ana Wijaya dalam segmen Take a Look. Pandemi COVID-19 telah mengubah hubungan interaksi masyarakat dunia untuk adaptif menggunakan teknologi digital. Berbagai aktivitas mulai dari belanja hingga yang paling dasar kini terus dimutakhirkan melalui platform online. Digitalisasi telah melahirkan berbagai peluang baru yang dapat dimanfaatkan untuk meningkatkan perekonomian. Wamendak Jerry memaparkan kontribusi ekonomi digital Indonesia masih relatif kecil terhadap perekonomian nasional, namun pertumbuhannya tergolong pesat. Pada 2030, PDB Indonesia diproyeksikan mencapai 24.000 triliun rupiah. Pada 2030, sementara ekonomi digital Indonesia diproyeksikan menyumbang 18% dari PDB atau sekitar 4.531 triliun rupiah. Namun sayangnya, di balik kenyamanan dan keterhubungan yang ditawarkan oleh teknologi, ada risiko besar terhadap keamanan data pribadi kita. Di era digital yang semakin maju ini, data pribadi telah menjadi komoditas berharga. Tak berhenti di situ, instansi pemerintah dan perusahaan lainnya juga dibutuhkan untuk memperkokoh arsitektur data digital Indonesia. Salah satunya adalah Application Programming Interface 8x8, penyedia platform komunikasi yang menawarkan cara visual yang mudah untuk membangun alur kerja komunikasi yang meningkatkan produktivitas, fleksibilitas, dan efisiensi dengan memastikan keamanan. Dan untuk membahas hal ini sudah bergabung bersama kami di studio 8x8's Communications Platform as a Service Business, Stephen Hamel. Thanks for coming to our studio, Stephen. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very glad to be here.
Yeah, digital services have taken the spotlight during the COVID-19 pandemic. Despite numerous providers offering digital solutions in Indonesia, enhancing the digital customer experience remains a significant challenge. Could you provide insights from the regional and also global market trends that you've observed in terms of digital customer experience?
Yeah, sure. So digital transformation, I suppose, has been a boardroom conversation for at least 10 years now. Organizations looking to move their engagement with their consumers, their customers, into a digital environment. And that's been a conversation for a very long time. And a lot of organizations had a 3, a 5, a 7-year roadmap for how they were going to do that. And then along came COVID, and it changed everything. Suddenly, the 7-year roadmap became a 7-month roadmap, and organizations trying to find ways to be able to send their agents, their support agents home, working from their home offices or whatever. This was never done before. It was a whole new challenge that we all faced. And we as consumers, we had to change the way we operated too. And most of us had to go home and work from home as well. I don't know how it works in your industry, but I was working from home for a very long time and had to change the way I shopped. It changed the way that I educated myself, the way that I educated my children, the way that I might go about looking for health support around my healthcare. All of that changed around digital, and digital started to provide this sort of foundation for being able to provide this new engagement for organizations. And what sort of concurrently happened at the very same time, communication channels opened up. You know, first it used to be we'd send things through a website and maybe some email, and then suddenly there were social media channels and organizations trying to figure out how do we capitalize on this social media conversation that we have to have. And then it stopped being an option. Consumers started to demand. Consumers saying, we want you to talk to us this way. This is my preferred choice. The organizations then have to try and see how they adapt. And so I can even think about one of my largest global customers that, communications household name, they insist that we only work with them through WeChat. That's the choice that they make. If you're an organization, you want to work with them, that's the choices that you have to do.
Okay, so you have this thing called CPaaS. Can you explain what is CPaaS and how it is transforming the business landscape?
Absolutely. Look, CPaaS stands for Communication Platform as a Service. So the notion is that it's a communication platform, but you don't buy it and put it into your own environment. It's a hosted solution that you connect to through APIs. So organizations have the opportunity to be able to extend their reach through different channels, whether it's through voice channels like phone calls, whether it's voice channels through what's called VoIP, voice over IP, so digital voice channels, whether it's video interactions, so if you want to speak to your customer via video, whether it's then connecting into all the plethora of various different WeChat and Line and WhatsApp and all of the different types of social medias that people want to connect through. So our platform sits in between the organization's business and how they talk to their customers, and we connect those channels for them into what they're doing. I mean, a case study for this would be where you can take this and provide innovation. As a case study for this would be, we're working with a housing board in Europe. It's a whole country housing board. And so they have a lot of renters, tenants, that will get in touch with them via the application and say, I have an issue. Maybe they have an issue that says, I have some mold in my bathroom, okay? And so they're talking to an agent via the in-app chat, and the agent says, can I see this? If you can click this link, I can turn your phone into a video camera, a video engagement, and then we can see exactly how this mold looks. So the tenant clicks it, is able to show them. Now what happens is the organisation knows whether they need to send a plumber. Is there a leak? They know, is it plasterer? Does it need to be replastered? Does it need to be repainted or just cleaned? And it takes out hundreds of millions of dollars a year of cost in doing those kind of tasks that can be done via digital channels. And it speeds up the process and makes a much more excellent experience for the tenant.
Okay, in today's rapidly evolving digital environment, how does 8x8 CPaaS offering address the communication needs of businesses, and what sets it apart from other solutions?
So I think what's important is that fundamentally important is protecting people's privacy and security. I think fraud's the fastest growing industry in the world at the moment, and everybody's trying to protect themselves against fraud, both the organisations themselves and their consumers. So fraud protection is super, super important, and this is is at the heart of what we do. And if you can get the fraud protection and the privacy protection right, it allows you then to start doing really interesting things. Things that you couldn't have done before, bringing technology to bear in new and different ways, while at the very same time protecting your audience, your customers, and yourself. Very recently, we just launched a new technology, we're calling it Omni Shield, and it's exactly that. It's aimed at protecting both the company and the consumer in terms of how they get attacked by bad actors around the world.
I see. How can 8x8 CPaaS support business growth in Indonesia, especially amid the ongoing digital transformation?
Yeah, look, we're very proud to be, having been in Indonesia now. We have a big team here, right here in Jakarta, wonderful people, Indonesian locals for the last 7 or 8 years now. So we have a great, in fact, it's the second largest team outside of our headquarters in the world. We support many of the biggest and most demanding digital organisations on the planet, and many of the household names here in Indonesia, we help to support them. So we continue to try and provide that local support. It's really important that you have people on the ground, in our opinion. They know the nuances of the local businesses and how the business culture works and how customers need to engage with their customers in this market. And so we're very focused on providing local support and bringing to bear what we have, which is an extensive range of technologies through SMS, multimedia, digital, voice, channels, video, all of the things that I spoke about, and then bringing that to bear on the challenges that the Indonesian organisations are faced with going forward.
All right, in the context of Indonesia, which has businesses of various sizes and technology levels, how does 8x8 ensure that its CPaaS solution can be successfully adopted by different types of companies?
Excellent. Look, I think large companies and small organisations, they are faced with two slightly different challenges, right? Big companies often have lots and lots of money, but then perhaps not always as agile. And small companies are much more agile potentially, but perhaps they don't have as much money. So a CPaaS platform is only charging organisations for what they use. So if you're a big organisation, sure, you're using more of it, it makes a lot more sense. But what's important is that it's very easy to implement. A big organisation that normally wouldn't be able to change quickly plugs in a little API and they're off and running. And little organisations that feel like they can't compete with the big guys suddenly can be very innovative. They can do things that normally are reserved for the biggest end of town and do really interesting things. And actually often they're leading the market and doing the most interesting things. They're actually creating the followers.
All right, could you provide case studies or use cases of how 8x8 CPaaS usage has helped companies in Indonesia enhance their communication and collaboration?
Absolutely. So it's really interesting that the actual number of types of customers that we can help are very broad and varied. It can be anything from e-commerce companies, ride-hailing companies, it can be telemedicine, it can be any of the services that you normally get. Logistics companies telling you when your parcel's arriving, making sure that you're there to collect it. So there's a very broad range. But one of my favourite case studies in Indonesia is we work with a large financial institution, and they've mandated for themselves to start to help bank the unbanked, to reach out to people that are underbanked, underprivileged in various parts of Indonesia and get the services in their hands that they deserve, that they currently don't have access to. And how we help them is these same individuals, they may be remote and maybe don't have the broadband access that would be befitting a first-class solution. Maybe they don't have the most up-to-date device. But by being able to help them through the lowest common denominator, which is good old-fashioned SMSs, we can get authentication in the hands of those people so that they can start building trust and getting services that they otherwise couldn't.
Very interesting, Stephen. We will continue further after the break. Tetaplah bersama kami akan kembali sesaat lagi.